Hey guys, so today we're going to look at some string operations. This is kind of a catch-all, just a demonstration of some various randomly assorted string operations in no particular order. But essentially these are things that you can use if you're evaluating input into a script, or if you're modifying large data sets of text and you need to automate that process. These are some things that you can do in Python. These are the things that make Python a very useful language, because you can do a lot of things that don't involve creating a binary program. You don't have to set up a big programming environment. All you have to have is Python and Notepad, basically. And you can do all the things that you need to do in order to modify a data set or evaluate the input from a program. So let's go ahead and look at the desktop. We're going to work on some different methods, and these will be using the dot notation. So pay particular attention to how we set them up. Some of them will require parameters, some of them won't, but they will all be using the dot notation. Essentially, the string is the object that contains these various methods, and so we put the string name and then a dot and then whatever the method name is. That's what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing that we want to look at is let's go ahead and get our environment set up. Currently we're in Notepad++, and I've already gone ahead and created Python exercise 8 and already saved it. So let's open up command prompt, and we're going to move to our programming folder, Python code, and we're going to look at the directory. Sure enough, there is Python exercise number 8. But we do have this already saved in there, and so we're ready to go as soon as we can get started coding. So the first one that we're going to look at is a method called capitalize, and essentially what it does, it capitalizes the first string in, the first character in a string. So we're going to create a string variable, and we are going to assign it a value. You notice there are no capital letters in that string. Everything is lowercase. Now that's not proper formatting for a sentence. The first letter should be capitalized. And so we're going to use this capitalize method in order to do that. So we're going to use the same string name. Now the reason that we do this, we're going to take what's in the string, we're going to modify it, we're going to put it back into the string. So text string is going to equal the same sentence, the same content, dot capitalize. And when we do that, it will modify what's already in the string. Now here's the drawback to this. The original content of the string is changed. There's no way to go back to that. You can't undo once this is done. But for our purposes, that's okay. We're going to print text string, and what we should see is that the first character inside the string is capitalized. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's go to our, and we're going to run Python exercise underscore 8.py. And sure enough, that first character is now capitalized. So we have a properly formatted sentence. Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of the party. The only thing that was modified was the N in now, but the original sentence is no longer in existence. This is the only thing we have, so you can't go back and undo it. What we could have done, if we wanted to keep the original sentence, we could have created a new variable name, something like text results, and then printed that, and we'd still have a copy of the original in the original variable. But we don't need to do that. For now, this thing that we're doing here, all we need to do is see the outcome. We don't need to keep the original stuff. So capitalize, basically it capitalizes the first letter of a string. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. I think we're going to do casefold. And basically what it does the same thing as lower. And we looked at lowercase earlier. Well, we're going to look at casefold. But for right now, we're going to get rid of this going to go back to, let's see, we're going to say, hello world. Okay, all in capital letters. And so now, what this should do is return it all in lowercase, just like the lower. It should return it all in lowercase. Once again, we're using the same variable name, so it's going to replace whatever's in the original variable with whatever is here. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's run it again. And sure enough, everything's brought down to lowercase. You can use this interchangeably with lower, because that's basically what it does. It duplicates the feature or the functionality, I guess, of it. So, all right, the next one we're going to look at is center, and I've never really understood this particular this particular one. We're going to use one word, banana. Okay. We're going to center that in a number of spaces. Now, this one takes a parameter. So we center, and let's say 20 spaces. What it should do, it should outline 20 spaces, and then it should center the word banana in those spaces. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's see what it does. Because like I said, this one, it will take up 20 spaces, and it will center the word banana in the middle. So let's go ahead and run this again. Attention to detail is the key to programming. All right, you'll notice it's scooted banana way over here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So basically that's 20 spaces, and the word banana is centered. This can be, if you're formatting text for like a game, this is a very useful function, a very useful method, because you can move the text around however you need to. Sometimes you need space, sometimes you need this white space out here. This is a good way to get it, just by centering the text. So it lays out 20 characters, and it centers the word or the string in the middle of it based on how long the string is. So this is a fairly handy thing, but it's kind of limited in the way that it's used. Okay, so let's do what's next? Let's do count. How about that? Let's do count. So we're going to modify our string a little bit. I love bananas. My favorite fruit is bananas. Okay. So what count does is it counts the number of times a string segment or value appears inside a string. In this case, we're going to look for the word bananas. And of course it appears twice inside the string. And so what should happen is we should, when we print this, we should get the number 2 back. We should get the integer 2. So, because that's how many times it occurs in the string. And sure enough, that's what we get, because it found 2 instances. Now this is really handy. This is a method you'll use a lot. If you are evaluating input, if you're playing games, if you're doing anything like that, this is a method that you'll use quite a bit, because you can determine how many of something that your users put in, things like that. This is very useful, particularly in games and things like that. I use this one frequently when I'm building text games. So count is fairly useful. Something similar to count is find. And so basically what it does is it looks for the first instance of a value, and it counts the position that that value starts on. So if we're going to do this, it's going to return a number. And the number is going to be wherever the word banana starts. Now remember, Python starts counting at 0. So you got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this method should return the number 7. And the reason that it does is because the word bananas, it's looking for that starts on position 7. So let's go ahead and run the code. And this should give us number 7. And it does. And it does because, like I said, it's looking for the word bananas in the string, and it finds it. Now you notice it did not find this bananas even though identical. It didn't find that. It looks for the first instance and then it quits. It stops after that. So it does not do whatever it is that it does. It doesn't search anymore once it finds that. So that one's handy if you're looking for pieces of information in in a page of text, and you need to know where it's at in a page of text that you've looped through. That's a handy one to find. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is alphanumeric. A lot of times when you are asking for a password, you want to make sure that they're only entering alphanumeric, or if you're asking for input, you want your user to provide an action that they're doing, but you don't want sentences or commas, or you don't want any weird characters, anything like that. You want to determine whether all the characters in a string are alphanumeric. That means letters and numbers. So we're going to go hello world, exclamation point, 1, 2, 3. Now, looking at that, immediately you can tell that is not an alphanumeric. That is a special character, and so it's going to throw a negative. It's going to return false. So what we're going to get is the word false printed back, or what we should get anyway. So let's run that. _8. And we, whoops, did I not save that? I did not, my bad. If you don't save it, it runs whatever's saved, and that was the last one. So, my bad. There we go, and we got a false, which we knew we were going to, because that is certainly not an alphanumeric. So let's get rid of that. Now, should we get a true? Looking at those characters, are all the characters in that string alphanumeric, either numbers or letters? Let's run it again. And it still says false. What is not? What's in there that's not either a number or a letter? Well, I'll tell you. You have a blank space here and a blank space here. Blank spaces, like backspaces, like tabs, like line ends or paragraph ends or anything like that, those are considered characters. Now, they're invisible characters. You can't see them, but they are there. So now if we get rid of all the blank spaces and we run it again, this time we should get true. And we do, because we've gotten rid of all the blank spaces, all the special characters of any kind. Everything in there is just alpha or just a numeric. So let's go ahead and look at some more of these that return a Boolean. So let's go is lower. Is lower will be our next one. If you might guess, is lower returns true if all the letters in a string are lowercase. If they're not, it will return false. So in this case, we suspect that we're going to get a false because these two are uppercases. So let's go ahead and save it. And when we print, we should get a false. And we do, because all these letters are doot. Now, let's try it again. These should be all lowercase. And now we get a true. Notice it ignores the invisible characters, line ends, and blank spaces, but it can tell what is lowercase and what's uppercase. So in fact, it behaves exactly like we expect it to. Now, let's look at, we talked recently about using a format and about how some strings were illegal to print, or some characters were. Well, in this case, we're going to create a character here, and we're going to see what is and what is not legal to print, or what is printable. And so this should return true if all the characters in the string are printable. If not, it'll return false. So let's make a string here, and we're gonna, okay. So that should be a backspace there. Let's see what happens. If we do this with a backspace. Oh, it says false. Apparently you cannot print a backspace. Okay, well, let's try another slash like that. Let's see if that throws a fit. Yep, so apparently we can print that. But we can't print the backspace. So I'm guessing that backspace P and backspace B and backspace T, those things that stand for invisible characters and line ends, those things are not going to be printable, and so it will give us a false on those. And that apparently is what it's looking for, things like that. Let's look at replace. This replace allows us to take one part of a string and add another piece in its place. So let's go ahead and take string is I like bananas. Okay. And we're going to do replace. And we're going to do bananas. With apples. And what we should get is I like apples. Save it or run it. And sure enough, I like apples. So we can use the replace function. A lot of times you'll use that in game creation too. There's a lot of things that you can do that in a game. Okay. The split function is very handy, especially if you're looking at groups or collections of variables. So let's go ahead and look at the split function. So we're going to create a variable here. Cherry. So I have 3 words in my string. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to split our split at the comma. Okay. Let's see what happens when you run that. And what it does is it creates an array, creates a collection, and it takes each of the items that are delineated by a comma, and it puts them into an array or a collection. Now, can you think of how many millions of ways that would be useful? Being able to break up a line of text and put it into a collection then allows us to operate on each individual word. For example, let's say I wanted to capitalize that first thing there. I could just give it index 1 dot upper, and now the word apple would be all in uppercase, but everything else would be all in lowercase. So it's very handy to be able to do that. So this one is one that you very likely would use quite a bit. Let's do zfill. I've always wondered at the value of zfill. So basically what it does, it creates a string with a bunch of zeros in it. So I'm going to give an empty string here. There's nothing in there. That's a completely empty, no value string. And I'm going to say that it is equal to zfill, and let's say 20. So ideally what this is going to do is it's going to create a string of 20 zeros. Why this would be useful? I'll let you figure that one out, because I don't believe I've ever used it. But in fact, it is a thing. And so if we count them, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 zeros in that line. Oops, not counting that one there. So there are 20 zeros in that string. That's what zfill does. Essentially, it creates a string of zeros. Anyway, so that's all the ones that we're going to look at. There are hundreds of string operations and string modifiers and string methods in Python. It's a very handy language. If you're modifying a large collection of text, if you're building games, anything like that you're doing, Python is a good language to do it with, because there are a lot of built-in methods and libraries, things like that can really help you without having to write a bunch of code. Here's the thing with Python, most things in the world have been done. Somebody's written a library to do that thing that you want to do, and so really all you have to do is search for it. There's no sense reinventing the wheel. Code is built to be reused, or at least it should be. That's one of the premier coding principles. Code should be reusable. Object-oriented code, object-oriented programming, that's one of the paramount virtues, is reusable code. I build a library, or I build a little snippet of code that does something really useful. I turn that snippet into a library, and then I can include it in all my other programs that are of a similar type, and then I don't have to go back and figure out how to write that code again, because I've got a library that does that. And then maybe I put it on GitHub, and other people can use it. Pretty soon everybody's using my little snippet of code to fix things, or to repair things, or to do things. And that's how programming should work. It's not about coming up with brilliant solutions to every problem. Sometimes it's just finding, hey, this other guy came up with a brilliant solution to my problem, so he's got it out there as a library, and I'm going to use it. So anyway, go ahead and get the assignment done. Just basically you're using examples of these methods. Save your Python script, your py file, turn that in. If you have any questions, I can be reached, as always, through the Canvas inbox. Have a good day, and I will see you in